All right, everyone, welcome to this weekend Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for February 16th to the 18th of 2018. All right, so we just had that solar eclipse on Thursday, so still very much a time of new beginnings with this. It was in Aquarius, so great weekend for getting in touch with this sense of individuality and the freedom that arises from that individuality. And because of that, where we fit into the world, right? Our tribe, our community, our friends, groups, network circles, this type of stuff can certainly be developing. Now this weekend we do have Mars squaring up to Neptune, so there could be a bit of apathy collectively, maybe a bit of lowered energy, maybe some uncertainty about matters, so we'll talk about how to work with that. And Mercury is going to be over the sun. So there's this sort of passion behind our ideas, or maybe a bit of scatterbrain that can be channeled into constructive, tangible things like writing or communication with Mercury. All right, so let's look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this weekend. So the most important thing about this weekend is we are in the early phases of this lunar cycle, a very important lunar cycle being a solar eclipse cycle. So from whatever insights from Thursday or new things that have been shaping up in your life, good to still kind of sit with the energy, but maybe slowly but surely start to move it forward. Maybe in subtle ways. Again, it's still early, but noticing that there is this slight increase of these new beginnings. So with Aquarius, of course, this is all about that individuality, freedom of individuality, accessing the unique aspects of ourself, and through that, seeing where we contribute, right? What our unique contribution is in the world or with our friends or our community, but really just getting in touch with that tribe, so to speak, and others in our life that share similar sort of views and interests and even visions for the future, if it's more collective for you with Aquarius. So that's the new beginning, very important with that. So this weekend, what we've basically got is we've got two aspects taking place on Saturday. So Saturday is kind of this apex part of the weekend, and it's also when the moon shifts out of Aquarius and goes into Pisces. So it's kind of pivotal day here. In terms of, let's talk about this Mars squaring up to Neptune. It will be all weekend, but by Saturday it will shift. We'll sort of integrate this and develop it, and it'll become easier to work with as we move forward. But it is a collective energy, so it'll depend on your personal chart. But generally, this is the sense of perhaps lowered energy. You know, you've got Mars, the planet of our drive, our ambitions, the things we want, squaring up to Neptune, which is this wateriness, right? It's like the vast ocean. Lowered energy, right? It's perhaps a bit of this apathy, this sort of fog coming over us that sort of obscures the drives and the personal needs and obscures who we are and what we want. So depending on how we work with this, it could be confusing. It could bring in some apathy, perhaps maybe lowered energy. Maybe if you're more on the Mars side of it, it could bring frustrations, you know, for really trying to, you know, move things forward or figure things out, but we don't know where we are. So the best way of working with this is really using our intuition. It's almost like if you were in the middle of a heavy fog, right, or in the middle of the ocean, and you don't know which direction to go. It's always best to really get in touch with your intuition, your senses, your inner senses, right? In the analogy of the fog, just really listening and being receptive to your environment. In the analogy of the ocean, sort of noticing where the current is taking you and using the current to sort of float and to guide you, right? It's this kind of thing. So really good for this. Any type of spiritual activities over the weekend, meditation, maybe just needing to get some rest or some alone time, again, depending on your personal chart. But this kind of increasing of receptivity, increasing of intuition is a fantastic way of working with this type of square, and we will learn a lot about it. And what's essentially happening is we're just integrating a much more receptive, intuitive, and accepting nature to our egos and to the things that, you know, the side of ourself that does take action still needs to have that receptive approach to things. All right, so along with that, almost exactly actually within a little over an hour there, the Mercury is going to be going over the Sun. So this happens quite often, about 6 times a year actually, but generally this is a bit of passion and energy behind our mind, maybe behind communication, and perhaps with our routine as well. Just things kind of, it's just almost like basically what it is, if you were to look up at the sky, you wouldn't see Mercury. Mercury would be engulfed by the Sun. So what's taking the dominant force here over the weekend is the Sun energy, which is fierce, it's self-expression, it's just pure raw energy, and this could be drowning out the mind and drowning out the communication. So bringing some extra attention to the mind and to the communication can help us channel this in constructive ways. Again, writing things down is fantastic with this. We can even gain some insights, maybe through automatic writing or through journaling, or maybe just speaking, just expressing ourselves, by bringing conscious attention to the words and to the communication can help us ground it, right? Understand it. So new understanding, new insights could, a lot of it have to do with the Aquarius energy of individuality, of progressiveness. What do we want to contribute to? These types of things with that conjunction in Aquarius. All right, so apex on Saturday will be increasing this energy as we approach Saturday, then shifting lower. Once it happens, the energy will sort of die down and we'll be integrating it going into Sunday. Now, it's also taking place on Saturdays that the moon is going to be shifting out of Aquarius and going into Pisces. So although the solar eclipse is still very strong at this time and the Sun and Mercury are in Aquarius, it will definitely be a great weekend for those Aquarius things. Again, individuality, that sense of freedom of self, being our true self, taking action in a way that is in alignment with our true self, maybe even getting involved with groups and communities or friends and things like this, which is starting to shape up. But as we get into midday on Saturday into Sunday, definitely into the more receptive side of Pisces as well. So just like with that Mars square Neptune, really good to get in touch with that intuition, maybe get some of that rest and relaxation, meditation, and really just let go of what is outside of our control to find that peace, right? It's essentially what Pisces is about. It's about finding peace through surrender, through living presently. All right, so great second half of the weekend for anything on that level. And it can be very easygoing. It can be also very imaginative if you're involved in any creative things, or it's just this bit of enjoyment of a bit of this kind of flow and receptivity and intuition and rest even as we get into Monday. All right, so that is the weekend in a nutshell. Most importantly, the solar eclipse, right? New beginnings with that Aquarius energy, freedom of self, freedom of being a part of groups, community, things like this. Still subtle. It's going to take some time for this to develop, but certainly a great weekend for this. Mars square Neptune, receptive, very important, especially if there's something we want or we're trying to take action. Our personal needs are very strong. Remembering to listen to that current, right? Where's that current flowing? And maybe getting some of that rest and intuitive time. Sun over Mercury, very good for channeling what can be some energy behind the mind, behind communication, and even the routine into constructive ways. All right, so a fantastic weekend, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you Monday for the daily forecast.